Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, where are we in our text?
Chapter 14, verse number 4.
Chapter 14, verse number 4. You have sound?
Yeah. Antar vikalpa shunyasya bahi swachhandacharinah bhrantyasyeva dashastasta tadrisha eva janate. The different conditions of a wise man, who devoid of any thoughts within, outwardly roams about at his own pleasure like a deluded man, can only be understood by those like him.
Yes. So, again, the intent of this verse is it is of no value for us to be concerned about the mind states of other people. There are some exceptions. The biggest exception is when you approach a teacher, you need to have a very good bullshit detector. I was talking with someone. They had some health issues. They went to India and they went to an Ayurvedic doctor who gave them all sorts of medicines and then told them that they needed to study the Kama Sutra, and then thought that this woman needed to be penetrated. And my response to this person was, that person needs to be arrested. There are predatory people out there. And you need to be very mindful of that. So I always like to say, if they want all your money, if they want to sleep with you, or if they want to micromanage and control your life, run the other way. No real teacher does that. They may poke if we have an attachment that we're not aware of. But be careful. The real guru, you have nothing that they want. You can't impress them. You can't manipulate them. You can't get their approval. And believe me, I have seen people try all those manipulative techniques, trying to do transactional relationships with a teacher. And if it's not a Satguru, they might be effective. They might give special place to the person with the biggest donations. Or give preference to the flatterers or things like that. Real teacher, you can't manipulate them because you have nothing they want. It doesn't mean they don't love you. The one thing they do want is for you to wake up. But you can't tell a teacher by their external behavior. Or or even a person of wisdom. Probably they will not behave badly or hurtfully to other people. They just isn't the way people do things. But one person of wisdom can recognize another. How? Because if you empty out, and you can feel their mind and they empty out. Then you know, oh, as the Sufis say, that person has the taste. It has nothing to do with external behavior. You can feel it if there's a person there with needs or not. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
That's the end of the chapter.
What do you know? Let's do the next one.
Chapter 15, Brahman, the Absolute Reality. Ashtavakra uvacha yatha tathopadeshena kritartha sattva buddhiman ajivamapi jignasu parastatra vimuhyati. Ashtavakra said, a person of pure intelligence realizes the self even by instruction casually imparted. A man of pure intellect is confused in trying to realize the self even after inquiring throughout his life.
A man of impure intellect?
Yeah, impure.
I thought you said pure.
I might have.
Yes. So the point of the matter is, remember what Shankara says, success in spiritual endeavors is entirely due to the degree of the qualifications of the fit student. And if you have chitta shuddhi, purity of mind, a subtle intellect, then even a little bit of this knowledge will take root very quickly. But if you have a mind that is covered by tamas and rajas, the Lord himself can't awaken us. So it is futile to think that the problem is I haven't found the right guru. There's a saying in the tradition that when the student is ready, the guru appears. I think there's plenty of truth to that. So our job is to become ready. Viveka vairagya cha. Discrimination and an intense spirit of detachment. Any thoughts on this? Next one.
Moksho Vishaya Vairasyam Bandho Vaishayiko Rasaha Etavadeva Vijnanam Yathechasi Tatha Kuru. Distaste for sense objects is liberation. Passion for sense objects is bondage. Such indeed is knowledge. Now you do as you please.
Yes. So there it is. Distaste for sense objects. I'm not sure I would want to put it in a negatively charged environment. Was that the vairasya?
Vishaya Vairasyam, yes.
Vairasya. So the prefix is the, which can mean a superlative, but could also mean the opposite. Now, correct my Sanskrit here. So it means I no longer have a taste for sense objects, meaning they're neutral. Doesn't mean they taste bad. You know, a person who hates the world, there's aversion there. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. And as I said in the prior verse, Viveka Vairagya, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world, Mithya. I think he used the word Bhranti. Isn't that illusion? In the prior verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or delusion.
There's a few verses ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the little story in Yoga Vasishtha. The fellow's digging in his field and he finds the Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem. But he disregards it. Then he keeps digging around. He finds some pieces of colored glass. And in his delusion, he thinks they're valuable gems. That's you and me. Yourself is the Chintamani. But we disregard it, instead go after people, places, things, and conditions, which are trinkets and baubles at best. And even if I want to be a tantrika, oh, I want to have my cake and eat it too. What happens? We dive into the world because the passion is too strong. And guess what happens? We get kicked in the teeth over and over again until we develop viveka and vairagya. The jnana yogi does it through insight. The tantri does it through a large helping of humble pie acquired through repeated humiliation. Now, I'm sure I'm the only one who's experienced elements of this path. All of you are far too insightful, aren't you? Am I right? Oh. But the end result is always the same: mature dispassion. Never done out of an act of will or a moral position. I'm a goody-goody. Has to be done through deep insight. Going on.
Vagmi pragnyam ahobdhyogam janam muka jadalasam karoti tattvabodhoyam atastyakto ubudshubhi. This knowledge of the truth makes an eloquent, wise, and active person mute, inert, and passive. Therefore, it is shunned by those who wish to enjoy the world.
Yeah. So frequently you will find the woman or the man of knowledge maunam, silent. They no longer have an ego agenda to run. They're not looking for attention or connection. No need to impress people. Yet they may be seen to work in the world. Product. No attachment to the results. And who is Daya Sindhu, an ocean of compassion. Next verse.
I guess I have a thought. In the case of Janaka, you said that I mean he's speaking. Oh, is he speaking? But Janaka was a king, and so he continued to be a king.
Yes.
And so from that lens, his desires were no longer his desires, and they were of the people and the work itself.
Well, and he had hundreds of wives. Most of those were political arrangements. It was a way that you created alliances in old-timey days. And he had a duty to physically respond to all these women. Such a task. I look at a guy like the new Pope, Leo. I really like him. And he, started off as an Augustinian priest, taking vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. For 20 years, he lived among the poorest of the poor in Peru. He's just a parish missionary priest, serving the poorest of the poor. And then because of his service, his community put him in positions of leadership. Francis made him a bishop. Apply for the job. Someone recommends you, and eventually the Pope chooses you. Then his Augustinian order worldwide chose him to be the head of the order. So he moves to Rome. Huge administrative job. I'll tell you what most of his work probably was. Dealing with the 1% of the jerks. That's always what somebody in a position like that deals with. 99% of the guys do a great job. But then there's the, and they're the ones that take up all your time. Thankless job in many ways. And he gets a red hat. Becomes a cardinal, a prince of the church. Francis wanted him to do that. And I love it what Francis said to the College of Cardinals when he was elected Pope. I don't know if you've heard this story. He says, God forgive you for what you've done.
Wow.
And he was a cool dude. But Leo, he's keen on social justice. He's a mystic. But he continues to do the job of the office. He wears the pallium and the fancy stole, and he holds audiences in the Apostolic Palace, and he does Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. He does all the popey things, but it's clear for him that it's not about prestige and power. He's still a simple Augustinian friar, a priest. But this is his job now. That's very different than some of the other cardinals who want people to, kiss their ring and wear the little red pumps and have fancy vestments and people to honor them and all this kind of business. And you can tell it about them, those who are interested in being powerful churchmen. Hierarchy, dress up. So my suspicion Janaka was like that. He was known during his time as a man of deep wisdom. So even though he was a king, my suspicion is people could sense his humility, sense his justice, his love, his equanimity. I don't know. Are there other stories other than our Vedanta scriptures about Janaka? Would be interesting to see how he's described. I just don't know. Let me give you another example. True story. Any of you remember who James Mattis is? James Mattis was the Secretary of Defense under, was it Biden or was it Obama? He had been the 4-star general in charge of Central Command, which is in charge of the whole Middle East. They call him the warrior monk because he's unmarried. But he was keen on the idea of being a servant leader. My brother, Colonel Yeoman, worked for him. He was a Marine Corps general. And my brother, tells a story that while he was at Central Command, which is based in Florida, there was a journalist who was coming to the base, and it happened to be Thanksgiving weekend. And General Mattis asked the lieutenant, who was the officer of the day, at the gate to let people into the base. He says, "Do you have a family, son?" "Yes." "And you're here on Thanksgiving?" "Yes, sir." "I'll take your duty. You go be with your family." So the 4-star general took this lowly position of officer of the day. And the journalist comes in and says, "Who's the officer of the day?" And the guard says, "General Mattis, sir." He says, "No, not the commandant of the base. The officer of the day. Lowly position." "No, it's General Mattis." So he came out and talked to the guy. No pretense. One of the most powerful people in the world. The current head of Central Command is the one who sent those B-2 bombers to Iran. Are you getting the flavor? The position is not what indicates the quality of a person's heart. Antithetically, you can have a community sewing circle or the altar guild at a church, and some woman or man may be keen on having lots of power over other people, even though it's a small position. We've probably all met people like that. I mean, if you work in a corporation, you're going to meet people like that. In the restaurant business, I'm sure you have had colleagues who manage through intimidation and fear.
Yeah.
And those where they're team builders and they're servants.
Yeah.
The owner of the business is the servant of everybody else. So again, it's not the title, it's not the position, and it's not the accoutrement. It's the quality of head and heart. Is that useful?
Mm-hmm.
Very good question. Very, very good question. All right, going on.
Now, Swam,
Oh, by the way, one more story about James Mattis. He used to read Marcus Aurelius in Latin. Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic, which is one of the Greek philosophies that comes closest to the Vedanta. Anyway, another cool thing about this guy. Going on.
न त्वं देहो न ते देहो भोक्ता कर्ता न वा भवान् चिद्रूपोऽसि सदा साक्षी निरपेक्ष सुखं चर. You are not the body, nor is the body yours. You are neither the doer nor the enjoyer. You are consciousness itself, the eternal, indifferent witness. You go about happily.
Yes. So I like to say, just put the robot on automatic pilot. My imagination is there's a big red button that says automatic pilot. You go. But now we have something even better. What did they call it? CBT, what's it called?
GPT.
GBT, chat GBT. There's no person there. It's just a program. It behaves like a person, but there's no sentience, no person there. Your mind is just chat GBT. All it does is assimilate information and your body moves. Your AI. The other metaphor, this is a Shankar image that I love. You compare a brown leaf colored moth with a dead leaf. And when the wind comes, you can't really tell the difference. But the leaf is dead and is blown about by the wind. The moth, there's a being in there who's flapping away with desires for the light and the food and sex and all that sort of stuff the moths do. So you and I, who may be ego identified, we're like the moth. We're still driven through life. But the Jivan Mukta is like the dead leaf. It's really hard to tell the difference. The body, mind, intellect, just moving through the world according to the force of the past, the desires of other people. With no real concern. I like to use the metaphor, you don't have a business plan for life. Instead, I like to say I'm like the ball bearing in God's pinball machine. And God goes whack. Paching, 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 paching. You have no idea where you're going. And then you maybe drop down and the Lord goes whack again. Next venture. And at some point, down the gutter. But there's not only no idea what's coming next, there's no concern for what's coming next. And this body will get its allotted dose of joys and sorrows, pains and pleasures, successes and failures. All nothing but the force of the past. Next verse.
Raga dveshau mano dharmau na manaste kadachana nirvikalpo si bodhatma nirvikara sukham chara. Passions and aversions are the qualities of the mind. The mind is never yours. You are intelligence itself, free from all fluctuations and changeless. You go about happily.
Yes. So, the dharma of the mind is it is a pleasure seeker, pain avoider mechanism. That's what it does. When the environment, the situation is conducive, the mind is happy. When the environment is non-conducive, the mind is unhappy. The foolish person identified with the mind endeavors to maximize conducive situations. It's an impossibility. The yogi has given up concern for it. The mind goes here and there. You just notice it. Then do as you will. We have to be very careful. Again, if people take up this teaching too early in their sadhana, they mistake license for liberty. Doesn't matter, I'll just go out and get drunk every Friday. No, in the end, it doesn't matter. Might as well shoot heroin. I think I'll, hook up with everybody all the time. I think I'll lie, cheat, and steal in order to get my way. Doesn't matter. It's all an illusion. And then they come crying to the teacher because they're so unhappy and miserable. Well, be consistent. That's just an illusion. Meaning you're not ready yet. You cannot renounce something you haven't got. Get established in Yoga Rudha first. Conquer Raga and Dvesha so it no longer afflicts you. Cultivate a deep samadhi. So the very passion of the mind is used to destroy the mind. The mind will return to the experience that's given it the greatest juice. Thank God, God is the most beloved, or we'd all be screwed. But if drugs, sex, and rock and roll is more juice than God, you got work to do. There'd be no talk of liberation as long as the mind's still extroverts. That's what Shankar says. Remember, this is a capstone text. This is not for beginners or intermediate yogis. Any thoughts on this? By the way, guess how I know this? Been down this road. Been down this road. I'm absolutely willing to tell you all I've been a crappy yogi. All sorts of mistakes, which in the end are not mistakes. But I've been steadfast. Oh, that I have been. In the end, that's all it takes.
Thank God.
One of my favorite stories from the Christian scriptures, is the story of the prodigal son. And there's a lot of deep yoga in it. So it starts off, there's this Lord, and he's got two sons. And the older son is a good, steady worker. The younger son's a bit of a jerk and a rascal. And he has the audacity to say, Dad, I don't want to wait until you die. I want my inheritance now. His father, who loves him, says, all right, gives him a bunch of money. The younger son then goes off into a foreign land and squanders his inheritance. And he finally ends up sitting on a dung heap on a pig farm. Well, this is just really gross. It would be for a Hindu that you're there in a slaughterhouse for cows, because pigs are unclean for Jews. And he starts to think, there's something wrong with this picture. Even the lowest of my father's servants, the ones who work in the fields, have it better than I do. I will return to my father, and I will say, Father, I have sinned against you and against the Lord. Let me just follow after the workers in the field to get the leavings, the leftovers. Now, of course, it's about you and me. So our essential nature is being with the Father. And in our foolishness, we take our inheritance, we go off into a foreign land, which is our extroversion into the senses, and we squander it until we end up miserable. And then we decide to start to come home to God. And notice we do it with egoistic motives. I want to get away from my suffering. No blame. And this is the best part of the story. Even when he was a long way off, his father saw him and came running to meet him. In the Christian tradition, we have a term called repentance. The Greek is called metanoia, which literally means to turn around and go the other way. So you and I have been extroverted into the world. And when we get beaten into reasonableness, hopefully we turn around and go the other way. We seek the contemplative life, meditation, moksha. And then the self, which is the inner guru, comes rushing to meet us. When he meets his son, he says, this is my son who was lost and is now found, who was dead and who's now alive. Kill the fatted calf. Let's have a party, feast. He puts the ring on his finger and puts the coat on him. And the kid says, I've been a terrible person. If I just follow out behind the laborers in the field. And his father says, no, you have come home. There's feasting and abundance. And there's a lot to do with the second brother, but we don't have time to go into that. It's very interesting. But it's a wonderful story. It's about you and me. Come home. Come home. The goddess will hurry to meet us. But what do we have to do? Turn the mind. Turn the mind away from the world to the south. It's a great story. It's a great story. All right, next verse.
Sarvabhuteshu chatmanam, sarvabhutani chatmani, vignaya nirahamkaro, nirmamastvam sukhi bhava. Realizing the self in all beings, and all beings in the self, free from I-ness and free from mindness. May you be happy.
Yes. So, this samadrishta, everyone and everything is a manifestation of the divine. Oh, but I'm so angry at this person. I'm not talking to them. How do we start? How do we start? So we start this way. We begin to see that they, like ourselves, have been the victims of spiritual ignorance. And from the place of spiritual ignorance, I try to defend, protect self. And I get frightened and I get hurt. Anybody here ever been frightened and hurt? You know what that feels like. Now you know why everybody else has done all the bad behavior they do. This is not to excuse their behavior, but you know that they are just like you and me, not only from the standpoint of the self, but from the standpoint of the mind and the body too. All our bodies are essentially the same, and our minds are essentially the same. So it is through this deep understanding that we're able to develop real compassion. Here, the scripture says, freed from I-ness and minus. It's not my issue and your issue and your bad behavior. It's just mind. It doesn't belong to anybody. It's fundamentally unreal. And when it's motivated by spiritual ignorance, people do things that are harmful and hurtful, and they are fearful and they're angry. You and I know what that feels like. It is really, really important to reconcile with everyone in your life. We need to make a list of all the people we have hurt or harmed And if we can, reconcile with them. We need to list all the people who have hurt or harmed us. Though we don't like the symptoms, the behavior, can you at least come to a place of understanding? Why did they behave that way? Because they were hurt or frightened. And this is incredibly freeing. It is incredibly freeing to clean all this stuff up. Sometimes we can't, they may be dead. But in our own minds, we can forgive and we can let go. And if we are still hanging on to old hurts, and we hold on to it, we're fools. Sometimes it takes a lot of spiritual work to forgive. But there's an old saying which I like: resentment is a poison we brew for another and drink ourselves. If we are deeply resentful, we hold on to anger, hold on to old hurts, we suffer. Any thoughts on this? And then if I'm reluctant to do this, why am I reluctant to do this? Who's got an answer for that one?
Ego, not wanting to look bad or shame.
Pride, shame, yeah, embarrassment. And denial and hoping it will go away doesn't work. It just sinks into the unconscious, and it's still there as a burden, and frequently will end up in our bodies. All right, bit of a sidetrack there. Next verse.
Vishwam Spurati Yatredam Taranga iva sagare Tattvameva na sandeha Chinmurte Vijvaro bhava. O you, pure intelligence, in you the universe manifests itself like waves in the ocean. Be you free from the fever of the mind.
Yes. So how do I become free from the fever of the mind? In the end, the yogi quits believing the mind. I cannot think a real thought. But then neither can anybody else. And the mind settles down and becomes peaceful. And the mind is not a bad thing. In Gita, we just covered those verses. For the yogi, the mind is your friend. The mind is powerful. The mind is Hanuman. But for the person in ignorance, the mind is my enemy. It tortures me. It bedevils me and other people. Next verse.
Shraddhasva tata shraddhasva natramoham purushvabho jnana swarupo bhagavan atma tvam prakrite paraha. Have faith, my son, have faith. Have no delusion about this. You are knowledge itself. You are the Lord. You are the Self. You are beyond nature.
So what this reminds me of is when we read Nisargadatta Maharaj, of course, his really famous book, I Am That. He was only with his guru for a couple of years. And his guru told him, you are Brahman. Inquire into your self-nature. And his whole sadhana was, I had faith in what my guru said to me. And he kept at it. Oh, man, an incredibly deep realization. And when we go through the qualifications of a fit student, the third one, the Shamati Guna, one of the gang of six is Shraddha. One of the subtler meanings of Shraddha. It is the quality in us by which we're able to resonate with the experience of another person. So when we get to that point going through Viveka Chudamani, I will usually say something like, have you ever been out to Ocean Beach on a spring or a summer day when the waves are crashing on the shore? There's all this ozone in the air and the sky is clear and you see the cliffs and you think, oh God, I'm so lucky to live in the Bay Area. Anybody have that experience? So what did I do? With words, I described my experience. And you were able to go there with me. Anybody here enjoy poetry? If you enjoy poetry, it's your Shraddha that allows you to go where the poet goes. Or music. I went to the symphony yesterday and heard the very requiem. My God, what a piece. In the second movement, I was in tears. It was so powerful. How did it move me? That's my Shraddha. Shankara says, it is by this means alone that reality is made evident to the student. So go where the teacher goes. Let them show you the awakened state of mind. That's your Shraddha. Wonderful work. Wonderful work. Next one.
Gunai sanveshtito deha tishthatyayati yati cha atmana gantana ganta kimena manu shochasi. The body composed of the constituents of nature comes, stays, and goes away. The self neither comes nor goes. Why then do you mourn over it?
Yes. So this body is like a car. It's like a garment. It's born. It stays for a short time. For 15 minutes in your 20s, maybe, or early 30s, you're hot and you don't know it. So by the time things start falling apart, in your 40s, Oh, I missed it. And then as you begin to hit middle age and old age, it's like driving an old car. It's in the shop all the time. Call the doctor's office. You're laughing?
Because it's so true.
Yeah. But if you look at a photo of yourself as a child or as a youth, you have not changed. You talk to old people, and they'll tell you that inside is that same youthful person. But I don't really get that. No, it's not the youthful person that's inside. It's the self, which is nityam, eternal. And at some point, the body itself will be removed from our perception, and nothing touches you. Next verse.
Dehastishthatu kalpantam gachatva dhaiva va punah kva vriddhi kva cha va hani tava chinmata rupinah. Let the body last to the end of the cycle, kalpa, or let it go just today itself. Where is there any increase or decrease in you who are pure intelligence?
Yes. So, what I like to do is you need to have death on one shoulder and physical immortality on the other shoulder. Live today as if you got a terminal diagnosis. You're gonna be dead in a short period of time. What does that do for us? We cherish what's here. Cherish this life with its beauty and its incredible impermanence. But then on the other shoulder, what if you were going to be in the body for the rest of eternity? Well, you should probably pay off your credit cards and pay the mortgage, just because it makes things simpler. So you've got to carry this balance. This is it, right here, right now. If you will always have a body for the rest of eternity, how are you going to live? It still comes down to complete detachment. Don't give a damn. It's all going to work out. Everything will pass. And if you're going to die in 2 weeks, cherish what you have, because you know it's all going to pass. The yogi is not an escapist. Oh, I can't wait till I realize it. I don't ever have to come back again because this world is so painful. That's still subtly aversions. Have to be willing to be right here, right now. Any thoughts on this? All right, we'll do one more.
Tvaya mahabodho vishwavichi swabhavatah udetu vastamayatu nate vrid nate vridhirna vakshatihi. In you, who are the infinite ocean of consciousness, let the waves of the universe spontaneously rise and disappear. There can be no gain or loss to you.
Yeah. Nothing touches me. I am kutastha, as Gita says, still and established like a mountain. I am achalam. I never move. Whole world just passes by. It's the movie. I go nowhere. I do nothing. Sarvamaya, Sarvamananda. It's all Maya. It's all bliss. Okay, it's a good place to start. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om.